Hello, my fellow modeling and tabletop gaming enthusiasts, and welcome to the Mediocre Modeler Show. This week we've got a little product review and demonstration of a new basing system, new to me basing system from a game store called Frontline Games. It's frontline-games.com. It's not Frontline Gaming, frontline-games.com. I've ordered from them a few times. It's like I said, it's a local store, does mail order, but they're based in, I believe, Yoder, Colorado. Not sponsored by them, just ordered some stuff from them. Ordered these basing sets. I got some little deep weapon sets because they had a really cool looking BAR. And then I was also able to get a limited edition USS Arizona for Victory at Sea that I thought was kind of cool. But anyway, I was going through getting that stuff and then saw this basing stuff and thought, hey, that looks pretty cool. It's a jungle theme. It comes in this package. So it's got a little tub of substrate as well as some leaves and some shrubs. So I thought that would be kind of cool to try out with my sort of phase 2 Marines, which are going to be kind of a cross between bolt action Marines and then the stuff that I'm going to use with Conflict 47. So without any further ado, let's head on down to the bench, see what you get, and see how it works. All right, let's get started. So we're going to take a look at this Frontline Games basing system from, again, Frontline Games, not Frontline Gaming. It's frontline-games.com, a local game store out of Colorado. So this is kind of the small condensed version. This cost me a whopping $4.50. Got their own packaging and everything. So the Scenic Tub Jungle Floor. And I just happen to have ordered 2 of them so we can get into it without having to crack that package. So we start out, we've got this tub of the Jungle Floor substrate. I mean, it should be enough to do a fair bit of models. That's why I ordered 2. But yeah, we'll see. And there is a larger version of this that comes with more stuff, but I just went for the small one. And then it kind of comes with a bonus. You get 2 little bags of leaves and shrubberies. So definitely, I think, pretty good proxy for some jungle floor. As you can see here, what we get. I mean, that looks pretty good. I've got it on a few models already, but I didn't bring them over to the bench with me. However, we're going to go ahead and do a little demo of how these guys work, or how this set works, using this medium mortar team from the Assault Company that I picked up at Adepticon. So I've got it all painted up. It is all done. It just needs to have the basing done. So we'll go ahead and work through that. It'll be a several step process, but that's okay. So we're going to need a couple things to do that. I always like to have something to catch all of my extra basing stuff that comes off. So I've got just half of a clamshell that I can rest the model in and pour all the stuff on. We're going to need some glue. I like to use Woodland Scenic Cement just because it will permeate through there, through all of the substrate. You could put down a layer of PVA glue on there first and it would work just fine. And then I actually have a little, this is probably 91% rubbing alcohol, because it kind of helps break the surface tension to get stuff down through it a little bit better. So this is going to be a little bit more difficult to do behind the camera, but that's okay. A shallower container would probably work better. But yeah, you know what? Actually, we're going to do this just on a sheet of plastic card. It's going to make it a little bit easier. So first step first, obviously, we need to put on our substrate. So you could use a spoon, or you could just use your fingers. Just use your fingies. So that's how I'm going to do it. And I want to make sure I get those bases of the figures covered, since I didn't bother to paint them. There are some magnets in this base that I did paint up, and that is that excuse me, that plastic card is not actually catching everything like I hoped it would. That's okay. That's okay. I'm not losing a lot. And I always do like to have something around to kind of tamp things down, move it around a little bit. You just don't want to get too much of a buildup in one particular area. Lose some details of the model. In this case, we're just going to use the tweezers. Kind of move stuff around a little bit. You can see we've got just a little bit of the base on that figure there that's not covered. Push around and making sure we're getting it into the right spots. I've also got a fan blowing on me, so that's not helping. necessarily. That's how it goes. I mean, if you get some onto the figures themselves, generally it's not going to stick all that well. And we won't be putting glue on it, so you can brush it off. Oh, the magnet caught my tweezers there. So this is a bit of a departure from what I'd done previously with all of my Marines. This is kind of almost like phase 2, where it's not that I was unhappy with how phase 1 went. It's just that there might be something that's forcing my hand to make some changes. In this case, there's a little bit of a paint difference, just because when I reordered the main base color I used for my Marine fatigues, it looks like Vallejo actually kind of changed the formula, so it's slightly different color, but that's okay. And I'm just going to mix this up so we're getting a little bit more. It seems like I'm getting a lot smaller stuff now. Mix this up so it's a little bit more homogeneous. And there are going to be some harder to reach spots on here. And that's okay. Get down in there on the mortar's base. Okay, and this is why I like to have something to help me kind of move stuff around a little bit. And there are going to be some additional things that we add to this after the fact. So it will make it a little bit easier to maybe hide any minor mistakes we've made. Just make sure their feet are showing. Okay, so from here, I think is where we're actually going to transfer to our tub, or our clamshell. But actually first we're going to do just a tiny little bit of cleanup here. Just to get this stuff, save as much of this as we can. It does cost money, so let's try and save as much of this for future use as possible. You know, be a thrifty wargamer. That is the nice thing about, again, about the clamshells, is you can just dump it right back in. Okay, so next up, I'm going to make sure that my glue is nice and shaken up. And I've got my rubbing alcohol. So I'm going to put this rubbing alcohol down in a few spots, because again, it helps break the surface tension, so when I go to actually put the glue on, it won't disturb it as much. And our good friend capillary action will help move the glue around the base. As you can see, it just drops right in there, and you can start to see it building up a little bit. And that will permeate all through the model and help us get that stuff glued down. And this stuff does hold pretty darn well. And I've used it for gravel, rocks. Yeah, try not to get it on the models if you can. It does dry clear. It does have kind of a little bit of a sheen to it, which I'm not opposed to, because it does make it look a little bit wet, which would be fitting for the jungles of the South Pacific. So that's not so bad. And we just got to make sure that we're getting all around, really saturating that base with the glue. And this is also why it's kind of a good idea to paint whatever's underneath your bases, because that can help hide any areas you might have missed, any mistakes you might have made. So you can see there the way it's kind of pulling up. Sorry, a little bit out of focus, because I didn't have the surface tension quite broken by the rubbing alcohol. I'm trying to get this one spot covered, and it's not really wanting to go that way. So we'll go from the other side. And there's one spot I'm not really sure if I got all that well, which is on top of the mortar. Which looks like we didn't, so we're going to start trying to get in there and get some of that saturated in. And this stuff does, when it's still wet, you can just kind of wipe it off with a Q-tip or something if you happen to get some in a spot you don't want it. All right, I think we are pretty well saturated there. Okay, so from here, you could go one of two ways. You could either wait before you continue to the next step, or you could go ahead and do it now. For the sake of demonstration purposes, we'll just go ahead and do it now. So again, we're going to put it back on our piece of plastic card there. So next up, we're going to apply some of these leaves, which again, probably should do in the tub, but yeah, for demonstration purposes, we'll just do it here. So we'll just kind of shake just a little bit out of the bag. You don't need to do a lot, necessarily a lot, but we do want to add some variety to this. That was probably more variety than we wanted, but that's okay. You know, if you really wanted to, you could pick some of those off or redistribute them. That's why it's good to have some tweezers handy. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to kind of redistribute some of this a little bit. And as you can see, there are some different colors involved in there. Some oranges and some yellows, a little bit of red. And I'm sure they just take regular off-the-shelf basing stuff, mix it up themselves, and this is what you get. So we've got the leaves on, and then we're going to do just a little bit of shrubs, which is just, excuse me, just some clump grass. Again, probably some woodland scenic stuff. And I'm just going to pour a little bit out onto the plastic card here, because it does need to be broken. That is probably more than we're going to need, but that's okay. But what I would recommend is that you take some of these clumps and just kind of, just make sure they're separated. Pull them apart a little bit. Just kind of like that, yeah. So then it's just a matter of taking these and just kind of sprinkling them on around the model. Just again, give it a little bit of variation. And honestly, I think that's probably good. So we will try to save that if we can. I mean, a lot of this stuff you could get much higher quantities of if you were going to be doing a lot, probably on your own. The substrate, I'm not sure exactly what that is, but the other two, I could tell you, give you a pretty good idea what they actually are. Okay, so from here, again, it's just going to be a matter of saturating the base with some scenic cement, which already had the cap off. Gross. I got it on my hands. So there shouldn't be much surface tension, but again, you want to make sure you're getting this on top of the stuff that we just added so that it really sticks. I need to kind of blow some dust off in a few spots. There we go. And I'm telling you, this scenic cement does grip pretty darn well. There's going to be some spots that are going to be a little tougher to get, like in between the guys and the mortar. So we're going to need to try and get in there and get those as best we can. I think that looks pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and let all of that dry, and then we're going to come back with one final finishing touch, and that's just going to be to add some of the laser cut plants from Gamer's Grass. So we'll go ahead, let this dry, and then we'll come back and take a look at the final finished product. And here is our finished product. I don't think the glue is yet fully dry, but that's okay. So you can see those Gamer's Grass plants really kind of help set things off. Got a couple of different ones there. I really do kind of like that sort of wet look that everything has, so that's pretty pretty cool, pretty authentic, I think, for the jungles of the South Pacific. And then over here, we've got two heavy armor infantry dudes, an officer and his companion with the same treatment, looking pretty good. Well, I'm pretty convinced that that's a better effort at making jungle-themed bases than I could have done on my own, so I'm pretty pleased with it. And like I said, it cost me, one of these packages cost me all of $4.50. They do have a higher priced / more complex, more complete set that's, I think, it's either $30 or $40, which comes with a whole host of extra stuff. So it's got the jungle basing flock, ground coverings, leaves, shrubs, bark, branches, and vines, jungle floor greenery, fallen leaves. It's got some tropical plants, as well as tweezers, a spoon, large empty containers of various sizes, your own cutting mat. It comes with some basic solution or basing cement, and then an instruction and tips sheet. But for now, I'm good with the smaller set. Again, $4.50. Should be enough to do what, I don't know. We'll see if it's enough. I mean, I just did a 60mm base. I was about to pull over this pond skate and be like, oh, this is a 60mm base. Oh, I just demonstrated on a 60mm base. So, you know, it should do pretty well. I'm pretty excited for it. So, yeah, that turns out pretty darn well. I gotta admit, I really like how that works out. So, yeah. Yeah, so that about brings us to the end of this episode. So a couple of notes. If you missed the Trenchworks Post-Adepticon sale, the free shipping special has expired. I'm sorry. But definitely go check out Trenchworks, get some cool stuff. Check out frontlinegames.com. It's frontline-games.com right here. If you want to get some of this basing stuff, they've also got several lines of their own stuff. Terrain, they've got like weapon packs and stuff. All kinds of cool stuff. They might have, I mean, I found 2 limited edition Warlord models from them. I got the special edition War Dog that came out with one of the books years ago. I picked that up a year or so ago. Got the limited edition USS Arizona. So definitely give them a visit. Again, I'm not sponsored, just I found some cool stuff there, so I thought I'd go over it. You can always check out the Wisconsin Maritime Museum website, find out how the project to get the USS Cobia into dry dock is going. You know, I think their plan is September, so we're getting there. So if you are able to donate, please consider doing so. It'll definitely help out the preservation of an amazing historic artifact. I'm just looking at the pile of stuff on my table and on my workbench right now, and I'm about to leave town for 3 days. So that should be pretty fun. But anyway, if you feel so inclined, please like, comment, and subscribe. I sure do appreciate it. Check out all those links in the description below. Again, there'll be a link for Frontline Games, as well as there's always the link for the Wisconsin Maritime Museum, as well as my social medias, as well as my Warlord Games affiliate link. Definitely go check those out. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, folks, may your paints be thin, your brushes be pointy, and your dice be hot.